Hey everybody, I'm really excited to share with you what's possible in this Explain Everything app. There's a lot of great features that we often don't uncover when we explore new apps. So we're going to take a look at, in this particular video, just some of the things that you could actually do with the Explain Everything app, and then we'll work forward from there and figure out how it would work best for you. So one of the great parts about Explain Everything is all of the amazing things we can do because of all of the file types that we can put into an Explain Everything file. So here's just kind of a sampling of what can be put into Explain Everything. We've got the ability to put photos and videos or files inside of an Explain Everything option. We can also take those photos and those videos right from within Explain Everything as we record and talk over it. So think about a live doc camera where you are narrating what you see and you're able to record that at the same time using Explain Everything. Of course, if we have music that we want to place or sound files that we want to place into an Explain Everything that are already in our iTunes account, we can include those. We'll see in just a little bit the web browser, which is a live web browser placed inside of Explain Everything. And then we've also got the ability to include math equations. This is fairly new, but the ability to put math type in and then graph some of those basic equations as well. Also, as you can see, we've got the ability to do some drawing and writing. And by the way, I'm highlighting, as I do this, I'm highlighting that with a neat little pointer tool that really can draw your attention around the screen to different areas. So that's another option that we've got there. I, of course, can also type text if I need to, and that's a great way to kind of set up the document and also maintain some element of clarity for ourselves and give the kids really meaningful text that they can particularly work with. Oh, and I should show you a few other things we can add. So we can also add different kinds of shapes with varying colors. And if we want to change the colors of those shapes, we can do that too. So lots of great things that we can do that way. So different pieces there. So we've got a lot of different kinds of shapes, and it's got subsequent borders and pieces that we can add that way. And then I've also got the ability to use a pen tool, per se. Let me pull that up very quickly, to do some highlighting over the top of text. So I can go ahead and change the color of those highlights, the opacity of those highlights, and the pen size depending on what I'm working on. So lots of things that can be included inside of an Explain Everything file that really help us to drive home to the point that we're trying to make. Alright, we're going to take a really good look at some of the objects that we can add in and what else we can do with them to really help explore an idea or explain a concept more deeply. So here I've got just a photo. I brought this in from a camera roll. I copied it from a web browser, but I want to show this to the students. It's something that I really need them to get a concept of, whether that maybe be a molecule structure or a math problem that I had laid out or something like that. We're looking at a particular piece of text. So what I want to do first is I want to blow it up, and you'll notice right away it's behind some other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select that piece, and I'm going to bring it to the front so I can get it front and center. So I'm doing all of this while I'm talking to you and explaining pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my pen tool, and I'm going to go ahead and draw in whatever it is. I happen to be using a stylus right now, but if I were to use a finger, here's my example with a finger, so it really doesn't matter too much. Okay. But what's really great about this is because I made this drawing that I was just creating, and I kind of did it at the same time as I had the image selected, you're going to see what happens in just a moment here. I'm going to pinch down because I'm done explaining that part. And you'll notice that my annotations size with the image, which is really a neat function. And it helps me to kind of keep the focus without having this big mess, but it also allows me to get that idea out of the way. Next, we're going to focus on the video. So we'll do the exact same thing with the video. So you'll notice that when I grab the video here and make it larger, it's behind everything else. So using my information button over here, which is an eye, I know you can't see it, but it's a little eye on your left-hand side. I'm going to select it and bring it to the front. Okay, so now there's that video, and I want to get everything else out of the way. Great, so I'm able to put this front and center. Okay, you ready for the magic now? So I'm going to hit the play button. Hey everybody, I'm really
There it is, that should sound familiar.
What's possible in this Explain Everything? I'm still talking. I'm talking over the top of the video, and I'm even able to turn the volume down on the video. I'm able to pause the video. It's not a great place to pause. We're going to back up the video, and then I'm going to actually annotate right over the top of that. I'm going to say, oh, look, here's the Explain Everything logo. Pay attention to that. And then I can put that guy away if I need to. So I'm going to put that guy away and see what happens. Oh my gosh, the drawing stayed with the video on that frame, okay? Drawing stayed with the video on that frame, and I was able to put it away and out, kind of get that out of the idea. All right, now the web browser. This is the one I'm really excited about. Although I love those other two, I could do the same thing in a live web browser. I can like draw over the top of a web browser. So here we go. All right, I'm going to get this guy out here. Remember, we've got to follow that whole process. I want to get this up front and center. So there it is. I've got it up front and center. That's lovely. I'm going to resize it. And this is a real web browser right here. I preloaded it so that I didn't have to do too much to get into it, but I preloaded it with a web address. Okay. And now, here we go. I am going to go ahead and go to the news section. Got a lot of exciting things going on here. I'm going to the news section, and I can go to different web pages, and I can actually draw the student's attention to different parts of those web pages as well. So here we go. We're going to take a look at this particular piece, and I also want you to notice this and this piece of it. Now, let's see if the magic works. I am going to hit the little camera button here, and it's actually going to take a picture of that and send that into my camera roll, which is really nice. Okay, and then I can put that away. But again, my annotations, they moved with this particular page. And so now I've got annotated images and text and videos that the students can work from, learn from, hear, see, but they also can do so much more with it. Here's another newer feature, and it's the ability for us to add equations into the mix. Now, I'm not particularly good with equations myself, and I know that some of you, this is going to be a really important function for you, so I at least wanted to point it out to you. When we are working in the Explain Everything option and we click the plus button as we're setting it up, it'll actually give us an equation editor where we'll be able to type in and do some different things. And then it will give us the ability to actually graph that equation as well. So here I've got this, and I could go ahead and change pieces of that particular function if I needed to. And then when I'm all done, I click the little graph button. It's orange, okay, so in the far upper left, and it's going to give me a live graph of that. Now, what I can tell from a few of the warnings is that it's probably not the most robust graphing equation grapher that you'll find, but it's functional, it works, and then I can do more with it, right? So now I can annotate over the top of it, I can do some other pieces to it, whatever I might need to do. Again, this is not my strong suit by a long shot, but understanding what I can do with it, I can imagine some of you will find some really great uses for the equation editor. Let's see what happens. So equation editor doesn't seem to actually bring those smaller markings with it. So you'd probably be putting equation on each screen and leaving it as is. But once you've got it, you probably don't want to move it. So what I'm going to do is, before I was showing you how to bring something to the front, now using that equation editor graphing, I'm actually going to lock it in place, because I don't want the students in this case to necessarily be able to move something around. So I'm going to lock it in place, and now that graphing paper back there with the equation graphed out on it, that can't be moved, and now my drawings over the top at least are going to be consistent with the size of the graph that they're looking at. So we've all heard that old adage that you really don't know something until you have to teach it to somebody else, right? And I think most of us, that experience has been true for us as well. So what's really great about Explain Everything is moving beyond just even how we might use it as a teacher. Think about your students. Every one of them has Explain Everything on their iPad. Now, in a way, Explain Everything used in the right way puts every student into a teacher's role. Every student has the ability or the responsibility, depending on how you structure your classroom, to be teaching, showing, explaining what they think by using a couple of key pieces, right? The ability to use graphics, a great way for them to really, demonstrate their thinking and understanding of something. along with their verbal, right, the ability for us to hear what they're thinking, their ability to move objects, right, so depending on what it is that we're trying to do with this particular piece, we now can start putting the puzzle pieces together in certain ways. And then, of course, the ability for them to draw over the top of it or to include shapes over the top of it. So here's an example of a shape tool. Okay, so we've got that option there as well. So there's a lot of great things that we can do as long as we think about how are the students going to explain everything they know to us using this really powerful tool set. Now the last part is probably the most important part for us to understand from a big picture perspective. The question is, what are we going to do with this particular file when we're all done with it? So I've got an image here of the export functions that exist. One of the most common ways that we would export and explain everything is to export it as a video file. Every teacher has a Google account here in the district. Every student has a Google account here in the district. And as such, every student and teacher has the ability to create a YouTube channel with that Google account. All right, so the same login credentials, we create a YouTube channel, and then we start uploading our videos to the YouTube channel from there. Why? Because honestly, it's the easiest way for us to push video out to a different audience or a unique audience. Those videos can be public, they can be private, they can be shared with individuals, but YouTube just makes sure that with all the file formats and all the ways that videos can be played, there's one consistent platform that genuinely works all of the time, all right? And that is YouTube. Well, what else could we push out? We could also be pushing out our files as images or as PDFs. So a particular page or a set of pages, instead of drawing in something like Microsoft Word and then trying to put files and images over the top of that, you could actually use Explain Everything and then push out either an image or a PDF, knowing that you've kind of got a blank workspace to work from, you draw over the top, and then you work from there. One of the most exciting ways, though, that I'm seeing people starting to use Explain Everything is pushing out a file as a project file. So they export their project file to Google Drive generally, and then they give students the link, and the students open that project file and Explain Everything. Well, what does that give us? That gives us the ability to have all of the media preset. So think about a slide deck, right? A PowerPoint, where all the media is preset and you hand it out to them. But then there's also an interactive component where they're recording their voiceover, they're recording their understanding. Maybe you give them 3 or 4 slides in a project file, just like we've got here. You've seen 4 or 5 different slides, and then you say to them, you're going to demonstrate your knowledge and thinking about this by recording and drawing over the top, so I know that you understand this process or you understand how to edit this text or whatever it might be. Give them some creative control, but the project file ultimately lets them get a working file. It's now interactive, and then they might share it back with you as a video file on their YouTube account. So again, we might push it out to the students this way as a project file. They would open and Explain Everything, do all of their recording just as I'm doing now, push it to a video, and share it back with you via YouTube. So, lots of great things we can do with Explain Everything, and it's a really functional tool that can do way more than just create some really basic explanations. We just have to dig in and figure out how to do that.